Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Women in Innovation briefing event. I'm Siobhan Smith, Lead for Diversity and Inclusion at KTN, and I'll be your host throughout the event, in which Zoe Jones and Abby Wood will be explaining the scope and eligibility and application process for the Women in Innovation competition. We'll be sharing some additional opportunities and news, and Emily Knott will be posing questions to some of the previous Women in Innovation Awards winners. There will also be opportunities throughout the events to ask your questions about the competition. But before we jump into the competition details, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Emily Knott, Head of Diversity and Inclusion Programmes at Innovate UK, who has been instrumental to the Women in Innovation programme since it was established in 2016.
Thank you, Siobhan, and hello everybody, and welcome to you all. It's great so many of you have joined us here today. And for me personally, it's really exciting that we're holding this briefing event for what is the third round of our Women in Innovation Awards. This Women in Innovation programme is a really kind of central part of our wider work at Innovate UK to promote equality, diversity and inclusion in the work that we do. A bit of wider context on the importance of women-led innovation, women-led businesses. So last year, probably everybody saw the Rose Review that highlighted that if we could increase the number of women-led businesses in the UK, we could unlock 250 billion for the UK economy. Alongside this, the government set out a target to increase the number of female entrepreneurs by half by 2030. In May this year, McKinsey launched a new report called Diversity Wins. You may have seen that. And that's the latest in a series of reports McKinsey's done that has reviewed the impact of diversity at the exec team level in global corporates. And this latest report showed that companies that had the greatest gender diversity at that exec team level were 25% more likely to financially outperform their competitors. The Scale-Up Female Founder Index this year showed that the number of visible women-led scale-ups continues to increase in the UK. It's up by nearly 10% from last year. And there's 194 companies in the index that are contributing nearly 10 billion to the UK PLC. We want to see this trend continuing, and we want to be a part of making that happen. We launched our Women in Innovation programme in July 2016, and essentially it is all about finding more women out there across the UK with amazing ideas for innovation and trying to provide the right support at the right time for those women so that they can really realise the full potential of those ideas. But alongside that is about raising awareness of the really best examples that we have in the UK for women in innovation and women-led businesses, and those businesses that are making a huge impact on the society and environment. We want to share the stories of the women that we're working with, because by doing that, we want to inspire many more women to get involved in innovation, and we want to start inspiring future generations of innovators too. When we started off the programme back in 2016, only 1 in 7, so 14% of applications to Innovate UK were led by women. A year later, after we'd started the programme and the campaign around it, we saw that increase to 24%. And over the years, we've built a community now of over 5,000 women who we're working with closely under the programme. So that's just kind of some brief introduction. I just want to make 2 further points really about the programme and about the wider context. So the lack of relatable role models for women in innovation does remain a big issue, and that's really part and parcel of what our awards are all about. It's really important that with our awards, we are showcasing the rich diversity of talent across the UK. None of our award winners from previous rounds are Black women, and we have a high concentration of award winners in London and the South East. We've got a real opportunity with this round to address this, so I want to flag that now. And as a result of COVID and lockdown, we know that there's been a disproportionate impact on women. In some of our recent competitions, we've seen a slight dip in the number of women-led applications, which is a bit disappointing, probably to be expected, but it is disappointing. For example, in the April competition, which we had for business-led innovation in response to the COVID pandemic, only 21% of applications were led by women. I want to flag that we've got a new Sustainable Innovation Fund competition live and a Smart competition live. And we would love to see more women-led applications into those competitions and our other competitions going forward. So please do engage with our programme, engage with our awards, but have a look at the opportunities for the other stuff that Innovate UK is doing that could benefit you. So that's all I really wanted to say as a brief intro, and I'd now like to hand over to Zoe Jones and Abby Woods, who are going to talk you through the scope, eligibility and how to go about making an application to our Women in Innovation Awards. And I'll be back talking to you later.
Hello everyone, it's great and really exciting to see so many of you online today. My name's Zoe Jones and I'm the Programme Lead for Equality, Diversity and Inclusion at Innovate UK. As Emily said, I'm going to tell you a bit more about the scope of this competition, and I'll then hand over to my colleague Abby Wood, who will run you through the eligibility and competitions process, including how to create an account on IFS and explain all of the fields that you need to complete. I'll then come back to you later to talk through the scored application questions in more detail. So, the Women in, as you've heard already, this is the third Women in Innovation Awards competition that Innovate UK has run. We've already supported over 20 amazing women innovators to develop their businesses and grow their potential as leaders in innovation. And you'll see some of their images on the slides today. The awards are designed for women innovators who are at a critical stage with their business, and the award will help them to take an important step forward that you will identify as part of your proposal. We're looking for women who clearly can explain how they will benefit from the full package of support on offer, which I'll detail in the next slide, and how this will specifically create value for your business. You should be someone who will be an inspiration to others, as we'll ask you to be a role model for at least 5 days throughout the duration of the award. And we're going to talk about a bit more about what that means later on. And the award, including the funding, should help you to make a real difference to innovation in the UK. It's really important to emphasise here that this is not a standard Innovate UK funding competition. It's an award package for you as a leader in your business. And Abby will tell you a bit more about the specific eligibility in detail soon. So what does the Women in Innovation Award support package offer? It's a 12-month project to start by the 1st of April 2021. It involves a £50,000 de minimis grant, which will be paid upfront in instalments. And if you don't know what that means, de minimis is funding that doesn't require match funding, and it can also be paid upfront to be used more flexibly as part of the project. You'll receive tailored business support and coaching from an innovation advisor at the Enterprise Europe Network. And the EEN are specialists in providing support to help businesses grow and scale, and they also help with internationalisation, but they provide a whole suite of support as part of this award package. The Knowledge Transfer Network and Shawan's team will also be on hand throughout the award to provide expert advice sessions, access to networks and peer networking. You'll also be provided with press and media support to become a role model in innovation. And our previous award holders have stated that the platform the competition gives them is hugely beneficial for their profile as business leaders. We will also introduce you to the Women in Innovation Programme ambassadors and facilitate introductions with new business mentors. As you can hopefully see now, it's not just about the grant funding, and to get the full value out of the award, we're looking for women who want to engage with all of the support on offer. So in this competition, we're looking to fund 10 Women in Innovation Award winners from across the UK who are solving a range of pressing societal, environmental and economic challenges, and also in a variety of innovation areas. The challenge that you're solving and how your project and innovation can help to solve that must be clearly evidenced in your proposal. And later on, I'll talk about question 8, which will specifically ask you about the need or challenge that you're looking at solving. So applications can come from any area of innovation. And by innovation here, we mean the commercially successful exploitation of ideas. And it can also be applied to any part of the economy. As background, the challenges can overlap with the grand challenge areas, which are artificial intelligence and data, ageing society, clean growth, and the future of mobility. And these can be, there's a link in the application process to learn a bit more about them. They're real global industrial challenges that are large scale, that you can use in question 8 to evidence the need or challenge that you're working on, but it's not a requirement that you align with these. So in summary, after talking through the scope with you, we're particularly looking for applications from women who have the real potential, capability, experience and personal drive to become leaders in business innovation. So as you can see here, we aren't looking for women who have already gained great success in their businesses. We're looking for ambition, potential, drive, that with this award and the support package that you can really make that critical step in your bit to grow your business and yourself as a leader. We're also encouraging applications from women who have that clear vision for their business, know what they're hoping to achieve from the award and how they plan to measure success, and that are looking to develop a game-changing novel idea or business innovation. Really importantly, we're also looking for women who want to be a role model for others. So by this could be in your region, so becoming a role model for innovation in your region in the UK or nation, in your sector, and also to young people. And we'll hear a bit more from Founders for Schools and Shawan later on about the work that we're doing to provide inspiration from our Women in Innovation community to the next generation. So all of these aspects included here will be covered in the application process in different questions, which I'll come back to later. And also I wanted to touch on the types of projects and awards that we will not fund. So we won't fund projects from applications or applicants who do not intend to use the full package of support on offer. So if you've clearly put in a proposal that is just about the funding and you haven't included in your project plan, for example, how you would intend to use the business support element, we wouldn't fund that proposal. We also won't fund projects that have a negative impact on the environment or society, that have a detrimental effect on equality, diversity and inclusion, and that do not involve any research and development or innovation. So that would be, for example, the creation of information-only websites, and obviously proposals that don't meet the competition eligibility or scope won't be funded. And Abby is shortly going to tell you more about the eligibility. Also linked to, because the grant funding element is provided under de minimis, under the de minimis framework, the projects must not involve exports or imports, involve purchasing within road freight transport sector, or the primary production in fishery and aquaculture, but all of this information is available online on the Innovation Funding Service, and you need to make sure that your project doesn't fall within or award isn't working in one of those areas. So now I'll pass on to Abigail Wood, who is a competitions manager at Innovate UK, to start off by talking about the eligibility criteria.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Zoe. So I'm going to start with the eligibility criteria for this competition. So it's open to individuals only, and you must be a female founder, co-founder or senior decision maker within a UK registered micro, small or medium-sized enterprise that has been operating for at least a year, and that's a year from the competition closing date. So you must be able to carry out your project work in the UK and intend to exploit the results of your project from or in the UK. You must be eligible to receive funding under the de minimis state aid regulations, which we will come to later. You must be available for interview week commencing 7th of December this year. You must be able to attend 2 boot camps in April and November next year. And we also ask that you commit to spending up to 5 days over the duration of the award doing work as a role model for the Women in Innovation programme. So the other things to mention are your project must be 12 months in duration and it must start on the 1st of April 2021. So you can submit a previous application into this competition. So for example, you may have applied into the Women in Innovation competition a couple of years ago, but were unsuccessful. And if this is the case, then by all means use any feedback you've received to improve your application and reapply. And as long as you didn't receive any funding for your project, you can resubmit it. So these are the key dates to bear in mind for the competition. It opened today, closes on the 14th of October. So you have 6 weeks to work on your application. So the deadline will be 11 AM on the dot. Please don't leave it to the last minute to submit. We often get people who try and submit in the last hours even, and if you get any technical problems, then it might prevent your submission. So use the full 6 weeks, but don't leave it till the last minute. Once you've submitted, your application will be reviewed and assessed, and those who are successful will be notified on the 23rd of December. The Innovation Funding Service, or IFS, is the online platform you'll use to view the competition brief and complete your application. And I'm going to go through this step by step now. First, you'll need to go to the Innovate UK website, which I'm sure you've already been to. At the top of the homepage on the right-hand side, you'll see an option to search for funding opportunities. And if you click on this, it will take you to a list of all the competitions that are currently open at Innovate UK. And you can scroll through or use the search function to find the Women in Innovation Awards. And then you just click the title to open the competition. Then once you're in the competition, you'll see opening and close dates, a green button for starting your application, and a tab view of the eligibility criteria, the scope, the key dates, information on how to apply, and some additional supporting information. Now, this is the brief, all these tabs, so please make sure you read it all through carefully, it's all relevant, and then when you're happy to apply, you can just click Start New Application. Then, so to apply into a competition, you need to create an account. And if you've applied for previous competitions on IFS, you can simply sign in with your previous login details. First, the system will ask you to select your organisation. And if you're not on the list, then you can just click on Apply with different organisation. Then it will ask you to choose your organisation type, for which you'll need to select business. And then it will ask you to enter your organisation details. So here you can either use the lookup function for Companies House or otherwise enter your organisation name manually. Then you'll see a page that confirms your organisation type and name like this. And then you'll come to an overview page of your application. So at the top, you'll get your personal application number. So this is usually 5 digits, and you will need it later for your de minimis declaration form, which we'll go through. There will be a progress bar, so you can see how much of the application you've completed. And it will list all the project details sections that must be completed and all the application questions. So by the time you've finished, each section should show as complete down the right-hand side. So the first section under project details is application team. Now it will give you the option to add other people into your application, but since this competition is for single applicants only, we ask that you don't add anybody else in and you remain the only person completing the application form. Now under application details, you can give your project a title in the box given. It will also ask you for the start date of your project and its duration. So remember, these elements are part of the eligibility criteria of the competition. So you need to put the start date as 1st of April 2021 and the duration as 12 months. You'll then have the option to select your innovation area. So this is the sector that your project might fit into. So click on the blue link and a whole list will appear for you to choose from. So you can just select the type of project that yours is, or else go to the bottom and you can select my innovation area is not listed. And then just click save. And then finally, there's a question that asks, is your application a resubmission? As I said before, resubmissions are allowed as long as you haven't already been awarded funding for your project. So just click yes or no as is applicable to you. And then just click mark as complete. And you will then see a summary of your selections. So this is a summary page of your application details. So if you note that the start date given here is 1st of April 2021 and the duration is 12 months, this is quite important. So as I said, the innovation area will be whatever you chose from the list, or else you specified your own innovation area. But if you've made a mistake, you can go back and edit. As you can see, there's a blue edit button on the slide here. So you can go back and change. Now, the application overview might now look like this. So you can see there's a bit of progress made and some sections have been marked as complete. The next question asks you to complete an equality, diversity and inclusion survey. So for which there is a link and it opens in a new window. So we're currently asking all applicants in all our competitions to complete this in order to address underrepresentation in business innovation. The survey asks about your gender, age, ethnicity and disability status. But if you're not comfortable answering the questions, you can select prefer not to say. And then if you click on the arrow that says details, that gives you this extra information about the survey. So the question itself asks if you've completed the survey. So just select yes or no in answer to this. And then remember to mark as complete. Project summary, it will ask you to describe yourself, your business and your idea briefly. Remember, there's always extra information about the question under the blue arrow and the link that says, what should I include in this section? So always look at what it says here, because this will help you answer the questions most thoroughly. This part of the questions is not scored, but we will use it to assign experts to assess your application. We then ask you to write a public description that you're happy to see published. So it shouldn't include any commercially sensitive information, but if you're awarded funding, this is the description of your project that would be published. The scope section asks you to explain how your project aligns with the scope of this competition, as Zoe outlined before. So you'll need to read the brief thoroughly and specifically address what is listed in the scope section of the brief. Then you'll have the option to return to application overview. Now, once we've moved on from that, the next section is the application questions. So this is a summary of the questions here. So you'll see there are 11 questions, but only questions 6 to 11 are scored, which Zoe will elaborate on. But you can see from this that question 1 requires you to upload the de minimis declaration form, and questions 6, 7 and 10 have optional appendices that you can upload to support your answers. So again, there's very detailed guidance associated with each question. So make sure you click on that what should I include link or option so you can see the full extent of each question. Question 1 is de minimis declaration. So I will go through in a bit what de minimis is and what the de minimis declaration form is. But in order to be able to receive funding in this competition, it is legally required that you complete a de minimis declaration form. So for this question, you need to click on the link to download the form, then fill it in, save it as a PDF and click upload. Then in the text box given, you just type declaration attached. Question 2 is about previous applications. It's not scored. So we simply want to know if you've applied for funding from any Innovate UK competition previously. And you'll see this is just a yes/no response. Question 3, we ask if you've previously received support from the Innovate UK family, meaning organisations associated with Innovate UK, including the Knowledge Transfer Network, Enterprise Europe Network, or the Catapults. Question 4 is how did you hear about the awards? So we've given you a list to choose from, but it may be that you heard about this programme from somewhere else. So please tell us how you heard about them. Then question 5 is about additional support and asking if you're happy for us to share your details with our partner organisations in order for us to potentially offer you some support regardless of whether you're successful in this competition or not. Yeah, now I'll hand back to Zoe briefly and she'll take you through the scored questions.
Thanks very much, Abby. So as Abby's outlined, this is the first question that will be scored by assessors. So this first question is focused on your potential to be a leader in business innovation. But I should say here that for each of these scored questions, you have a word count of 500 words. I'll give you a high-level summary of what each question is about and then take you through that information that comes under the blue arrow that Abby was talking about in a bit more detail. You'll be able to upload an appendix to support your answer for some of these, but not all questions, and I'll outline which one that is as we go through. So for question 6, this is focused on your potential to be a leader in business innovation. As I mentioned, this is scored, and this question is all about you and your potential to be a leader in your area of business innovation and also a role model for others. As I mentioned previously, it's so important that your proposal reflects your ambition for you as a business leader, your project and your business as part of your overall application. So this is an important question. So in the question, there's a few areas that you should outline. Why you have the potential to become a leader in innovation. So again, note potential. We're not looking for women who have already achieved great success, but who have that potential and that you can demonstrate you have the potential to become a leader in innovation and that the award can help you to get there. We want to know why you've made the decision to focus on innovation in your field, that you have the ambition to achieve great things and the business acumen to deliver commercial success. And with that said, we'd also like you to outline your relevant skills and capabilities. So giving evidence of aptitude and potential to lead, inspire and influence, communicate, and a willingness to work hard to achieve your potential. This is a new criteria compared to the last competition. We'd like you to outline how you would feel about being a champion for equality, diversity and inclusion more broadly, but also a role model to inspire more women into business innovation, but especially in your sector or innovation area, region and to young people, as I mentioned previously. We'd like to know more about your role in previous innovation activities, including the development of novel technologies, innovative products or services and their commercialization. So what your involvement in that process has been. Also your understanding of the processes and stages involved in making innovation happen. So that could include identifying any relevant experience such as accessing funding, protecting IP rights, getting buy-in from stakeholders, leading teams, understanding market requirements and dynamics, and identifying resources for innovation projects. We also want to know the difference that a Women in Innovation Award will make to you personally as a potential business leader. And also any particular equality, diversity and inclusion challenges in your sector or innovation area that have motivated you to apply. So that could be that the sector that you work in, there's a real underrepresentation of women, for example, and we'd like to know about that if that has influenced your motivation to apply. So finally, on this question, if you're encouraged by someone that you know, so a colleague or a friend, we'd like to know why you've been recommended, and you have the opportunity to include a few sentences about that. That has happened before we actually had a Phase 1 award holder who recommended the Women in Innovation Awards to a Phase 2 award holder who was successful. So we'd like to know about that. And in this appendix for this question, that can be up to 1 page to support your answer, and it can include those recommendations. You can also put any publicity you've had or outside references for your work in innovation to date. So question 7, this is also, as I mentioned, a scored question. The previous question mainly focused on you and your ambition, your skills and potential to be a business leader. But in this question, the focus will be on your business and the value add of the award and the timeliness of the award. So going into a bit more detail, the question is, what is the vision for your business and why is this the right time for you and your business to benefit from the award? So in this question, we want you to outline your vision for where you see your business in the future, how the vision is ambitious, the current status with your business and any progress to date, including other relevant support that you've received, the added value of the award to the business and why this is the right time for the injection of support that the award offers. And you can refer back to the slide about the support package, and that's also included in the brief on IFS as well. We also want you to acknowledge the dynamics of the market that you're targeting and any other potential markets, what you expect the future to look like. And again, you're able to submit a supporting appendix with this question, which is up to 1 A4 page. And it should be no larger than 10 megabytes in size. That can be used to demonstrate any public or private support that you've had to date, and also any graphics to illustrate your vision and to bring it to life for the assessors. Question 8 is focused on the pressing societal, environmental and/or economic challenge that you are trying to solve through your innovation, and what the expected impact is of your work on solving that challenge through your project. So firstly, we would like you to tell us what is the challenge or challenges, societal, environmental and/or economic, that you are trying to solve through your innovation. Try to keep this focused. As identified in the scope, this must be clearly evidence. So you could use a range of evidence as we've outlined here, including current government priorities like the COVID-19 recovery strategy or the grand challenge areas. You also need to outline the expected impacts on society, the economy and the environment, and any potential negative impacts that you've considered. Also think about the scale of the challenge in the evidence that you're providing. Please, in this question, also consider any appropriate equality, diversity and inclusion challenges in your challenge area or innovation focus. So this could be that you're focusing on a challenge in a specific sector where there is underrepresentation of particular groups and communities, and that your innovation is helping to solve this. So moving on to question 9, which is focused on your idea or business opportunity. So this is using some of the questions that you've worked through already to tell us what this new idea or business opportunity is that you'd like to develop with the award and why this is a critical next step for your business. So linked to question 7, which is focused on your vision, you have to explain why this is important, why the new idea or business opportunity is important and linked to that vision that you've outlined. Also, how your idea or opportunity will respond to the challenge that you've just identified in question 8. We'd also like you to outline the business need, technological challenge or market opportunity, and how you will improve on the nearest current state of the art, including those near market or in development and their limitations. So this is about your competitors, what's already out there on the market. Any work that you've already done to respond to this need. So for example, if the projects that you're outlining in your proposal focus on developing an existing capability or building a new one, and whether the innovation involved in the project will focus on the application of existing technologies in new areas or the development of new technologies for existing areas, or a totally disruptive approach. We're also in this question interested in the freedom that you have to operate and how the award will make you and your business more competitive. We also want to know how you will consider equality, diversity and inclusion in the development of your innovation. So, for example, this could be letting bias go unrecognised, which could exclude unintentionally minority groups. And there are lots of examples of things out there, like Google speech recognition software, for example, that was 70% more likely after the initial stages of product development to recognise male voices. So that's the type of thing that we want you to consider, but that will depend on your innovation and your project. So next, we want you to tell us more about your plan for the award. So the assessors here are asking you to outline your overall plan for how you intend to use the full package of support on offer. So we'd like to know the specific activities that you'd undertake with the £50,000 de minimis funding, the cost of each activity that you plan to undertake and how this represents value for money, who you will need to work with to successfully execute your project or carry out the planned activity, including any important internal or external parties or stakeholders, such as subcontractors. Also, any resources, equipment and facilities required for the project or activity and how you currently plan to access them, how you will manage the project to keep it on track and maximise the likelihood of success, including any tools and mechanisms that will be used to ensure successful delivery, the main risks and uncertainties that are involved with your planned activity, so they could be technical, commercial, managerial or environmental, and how you plan to mitigate those. And finally, in this question, this is really important. You must remember again that the award is not just about the de minimis funding, and that we want you to explain fully how you plan to use the non-grant package of support as well, to add value to your work and to develop yourself as a leader in innovation. So you can refer, in the brief, you can refer to the information on the package of support in the funding section. Tell us what expert advice you're interested in. Tell us if you need to access any world-leading facilities and equipment, and tell us what you're looking for so that we can tailor that support package better if you're successful. For this question, you can submit an appendix of up to 2 A4 pages, which can include your project plan or Gantt chart to support your answer. And you also must include a risk register as part of this question. And finally, the 6th scored question is, what does success look like? So what are the expected outputs of the award for you, and how will those be measured? So we'd like you to outline in this question the specific outputs that you expect to see for each activity described in the previous question and the project plan question, what success looks like and how it will be measured, the nature of the outputs you expect from the project. So for example, reports, demonstrator, know-how, a new process, product or service design, and how these will help you to target the need, challenge or opportunity that you've identified. How you'll protect and exploit the outputs of the project, for example, through know-how, patenting, designs or changes to your business model, and any output that's likely to be subject to regulatory requirements, certification, ethical issues and so on, and how you'll manage this. And also what you expect the next steps to be after the award. And that one doesn't have an appendix, so it's just the question. And just to reiterate, all of that information is on IFS. Make sure you click the blue arrow and you can work through all of those on your scored questions. I'm now going to hand back over to Abby, who's going to talk through the finance section and the de minimis funding again.
Okay, thanks, Zoe. So after the application questions, you'll come to project finances, which is split up into these 4 sections that you can see on the slide. So your project costs, project location, details of your organisation and your funding. So in your project costs, you will have to break down your costs into the categories listed on the slide, which we will go through now. So the first one is labour. So for your labour costs, and there is a blue arrow with some guidance attached, so please refer to this. It tells you that based on your PAYE records, eligible labour costs include gross salary, national insurance and pension contributions, and other non-discretionary package costs. Costs that are ineligible include performance-related payments and discretionary bonuses. In this section, you enter the role within the project, the gross annual salary, and the days to be spent on the project. And IFS will then calculate the total costs. If you have multiple people in the same role on the same average salary, then enter this in the role within project field, as you can see shown, and insert the number of days to be spent on the project by this role relevant to the total number of staff at this grade. If an employee is part-time, you should enter their costs as full-time equivalent. You can then adjust the working days per year from the default. So, and please note that if you're successful, you will need to account for all your labour costs. So you'll need to keep payroll records and timesheets. We define overheads as additional costs and operation expenses incurred directly as a result of the project. Now, these could include additional costs for administrative staff, general IT, rent and utilities. In this section, you can select no overhead costs, overheads to be calculated as 20% of labour costs, or if you think overheads will come to more than 20% of labour costs, you can opt to calculate your overheads by using the spreadsheet provided. Now, we class indirect or administration overheads as those costs associated with back office functions like finance or HR, whose primary function is to support the running of a business. They can only claim a portion of their time, and their work needs to be additional to the delivery of the project. Okay, so not business as usual. And typically, these costs are not directly related to a particular product or service production. Direct overheads are costs associated with staff working directly on the project, for example, laptops, desks, or office facilities. So just remember that the overheads you include would not be incurred if the project did not happen. Under materials, you must enter and describe what materials you intend to use on the project, the quantity, and the cost. So remember, the materials listed must be project specific. So make sure you provide as much information as possible. Just putting consumables at £50,000, for example, doesn't provide enough detail. And if you are successful, our project finance team might well ask you to provide more information. Also, materials supplied by associated companies must be listed at cost, excluding any profit element or margin. Remember to click on the blue arrow and read the guidance as well, because that always helps. Note that any items that you would usually depreciate as per your company's policy should be listed in capital usage, which is the next slide. So you can claim the usage costs of capital assets you will buy for or use on your project. So here you'll need to describe the item, indicate whether it is new or existing, how long you're depreciating it over, the net value at the start of the project and the residual value at the end. And these calculations need to be in line with your accounting practices. With regards to subcontractors, if you choose to use any, you will need to justify who, why and what you need them for, both here and as part of your application questions. So it's important that you justify the use of subcontractors within your application, and especially those that are non-UK based. And it's worth remembering that a cheaper cost is not deemed as a sufficient reason to use an overseas subcontractor. And remember, if you use a parent or sister company, just ensure you list at cost and don't include profits. So you can claim reasonable travel and subsistence costs for those people identified in your labour costs table. Costs must be necessary and solely for the progression of your project. In this section, you would include things like any essential meetings that need to happen during the project. You can't include any sales and marketing activity as that's ineligible. And travel costs must be economy travel only. And we ask that you be specific and add each item separately. So in this section, you basically include costs that don't fit into the previous categories. So for example, training directly attributable to the project, or the licensing of new technologies, or patent filing costs for new IP, which for SMEs is up to 7,500. So we ask that you please ensure there's no double counting and that all costs are justified. So the next bit is your project location, and here we'll ask you to tell us where most of the project work will take place. And under your organisation, you'll need to specify the size of your business. So to be eligible, you'll need to be working within a micro, small or medium-sized enterprise. So just remember that. And under your funding, you will have to specify that you're requesting funding and indicate if you've received any other public funding for this project. So the finances overview section will show you as a grid all the costs that you've entered. It will also tell you if you haven't marked any sections as complete. You must also make sure that you agree to the terms and conditions, because you won't be able to submit the application unless you tick this box, and basically unless every section is marked as complete. So now we're going to just go back to de minimis and just explain this a bit more, which relates to question 1. All the funding in this competition is to be given under the state aid rules of de minimis. And the key part to de minimis is that there is a limit to how much any one business or individual can receive over a period of 3 financial years. And that limit is €200,000, or approximately £180,000 at today's rate. And anyone applying for de minimis funding must complete a declaration form, which we will go through now. The de minimis declaration form is essentially a 2-page legal letter that asks you to tell us if you've received any other funding under the terms of de minimis in this financial year and the previous 2. So you're only allowed to receive a maximum of €200,000 across these 3 financial years. So if you have received more than that, then you wouldn't be eligible for funding in this competition. If you have received de minimis funding in the past, then by law, it should have been made very clear to you that funding was given under de minimis rules. So you should be aware if you need to declare anything here. Now, on the surface, the form seems quite complicated, but we'll go through it in detail so you understand which bits you need to complete. At the top of the form, there are 3 lines in bold. Just The red type is just for the purposes of this presentation. It's not going to be on the actual form. So file reference is for our use only, so just leave that bit blank. Your application number, which I mentioned earlier, so it's the number that's assigned to you when you first start your application. It's shown on your application overview page on IFS, and it's likely to be a 5-digit number. So put that here, and also put the project title, so the same title that you've used earlier on in your application. The next bit of the form is basically legal detail about de minimis aid. It just specifies the €200,000 threshold across 3 financial years. It also provides a link to a currency conversion site, so you can check what that is in pounds. Now, on the second page, there is a box for you to complete. So you need to consider the current financial year and also the previous 2. And to clarify, this is the general financial year for the UK from the 6th of April to the 5th of April. So basically, you need to think back as far as April 2018 and look ahead to the end of this financial year in April 2021. So did you receive any money in the form of a grant, maybe from the government or one of our other competitions, that was stated as de minimis aid? And if so, you need to put here who you received the funding from, how much it was for, and the date you received it. If you're currently applying into another de minimis competition, for example, maybe one of our COVID disruption competitions, and there is a chance you will be awarded de minimis funding before the end of this current financial year, then you will need to include this as a precaution. If you're not sure if some funding you received in the past was de minimis or not, then we suggest you contact the company that gave you the money and ask them. So please think about this from the start so it doesn't hold your application up. And if in doubt, just list the funding you've received, and if necessary, we'll contact you about it. Ultimately, your declaration form needs to be accurate and legal. And if you fail to declare any money that took you over the €200,000 threshold and we awarded you a grant, then by law, you would ultimately have to pay the money back. If you haven't received any de minimis funding in the last 3 financial years, then you can just simply put a 0 in the box. And then finally, the most important part of the form, don't forget this bit, is the declaration. You must type your name at the end of the form and date it, otherwise it's not valid. So you can put your company name here, your own name, and your own name again as a signature. You know, it can just be typed in, and then add the date that you signed the form. So as we said before, save the document as a PDF and upload it as your answer to question 1. So we've finished the application and now you need to submit it. So when all the sections are marked as complete and you're happy, you can click submit. I did briefly mention earlier, be aware the competition closes at 11 AM on the dot. IFS will automatically close at 11:01. So after that point, after 11 AM, you physically won't be able to submit. So please don't leave it to the last minute. The table on the slide shows the typical number of applicants submitting their proposals each hour leading up to the 11 AM deadline. And as you can see, the majority leave it to the final hours, sometimes even the final minutes. So we do strongly recommend you submit your application early to avoid any last minute technical issues. So if there's a lot of people having technical issues on deadline day and our customer support service can't help you, then it may result in you not hitting the deadline. So we'll move on to the assessment. So after submission, your application will be assessed by up to 5 independent assessors who will score and write feedback on your proposal. Assessors tell us that they want clarity, detail, justification, and to see the applicant has presented a viable opportunity for growth with an exciting innovation where public funding is going to make a real difference to developing the idea. So make sure your application reads well. You want to keep the assessors engaged and interested in your proposal. and make sure you address the points in the guidance notes attached to each question so that the assessors can award you the maximum marks. And if your application passes the written stage, you will be invited to attend an interview, for which you will need to give a presentation on your project. So we ask that you be available the week commencing 7th of December, as that's the dates that we've put aside for interviews. They will be conducted on Zoom. All the details would be emailed to you in advance. If interviewed, you'll need to ensure you address any assessor feedback that was given to you at the written stage, which you receive via IFS when you're invited to interview. You are allowed to bring one other person to the interview with you if you think it's necessary and appropriate, and you will need to inform us in advance who this is. You'll also need to submit your presentation slides ahead of the interview date. You'll be sent a deadline date by which to tell us who's coming to the interview and to send us your slides. Prior to the interview, you do have the option via IFS to address any assessor feedback, to answer any concerns they've raised. This is optional, and if you prefer, you can address the concerns in your interview instead. But just to say, your presentation needs to be in PowerPoint, no more than 15 minutes long and no more than 10 slides. There shouldn't be any embedded video or web links. And then after your presentation, the panel would spend 20 minutes asking you questions, so be prepared for that. And we do say that please do let us know at the time if you need us to make any reasonable adjustments in order for you to attend your interview, if you make it that far. And then finally, project setup. So on the next slide, there's the project setup stages that need to be completed by you within 30 days of being notified. And you can start project setup as soon as you've been told you're successful. Now, projects need to start by the 1st of April 2021. Sometimes this process can take a bit of time, so please be fairly prompt when anything's asked of you. Communication at each stage will be through IFS, so please make sure your contact details are all up to date. In order for us to ensure we're paying the correct organisation, we need to verify the bank account we'll be paying your grant into. The simplest way of doing this is by providing a copy of a redacted bank statement. So we're not interested in looking at the transactions going through your account. It's simply confirmation that the company name you use when creating your application matches that which appears on your company bank account. Then once all the project setup stages are complete, you'll be required to sign the grant offer letter. So you'll be sent a link to view the grant offer letter on IFS, and from there you will need to review it and sign it using DocuSign. And there'll be instructions on IFS for anyone unfamiliar with DocuSign. And then if you're successful, you will be paid your grant in 3 instalments. So 50% at the beginning in month 1, which will be April 2021. 40% will be paid at the midpoint in October 2021, and the final 10% at the end of your project on receipt of a completed statement of expenditure. So throughout your project, you will liaise with your innovation advisor from the Enterprise Europe Network, who will support you and help you maximise your project and business potential. And you'll also work with a monitoring officer. And finally, here's the number and email address for our customer support services with the opening times. So after this briefing, and if there are any questions that are not addressed in our Q&A sessions, or anything crops up following the briefing, please feel free to contact our customer support service, and especially if you have any technical problems with IFS, please contact them, and we will try and help you out. And that comes to the end of my section.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks, Zoe. So we've just got a few quick questions, and I'm going to ask you to be as quick as possible answering them so we can get through as many as possible. So are not-for-profits able to apply? Zoe?
Yeah, so I can answer that one. So yes, but only if the not-for-profit has a registered business arm or business side that has been operating for a year or more. And also this would need to be registered as a company on Companies House. So if the not-for-profit does not have a business operation and is not economically focused, then you would not be eligible to apply.
Thanks, Zoe. This one for you, Emily. I'm not yet eligible for this one as my business has not been operating for a year. Do you know if the next when the next competition date will be?
The honest answer is no. We have operated on an every other year competition so far. So we've had a competition in 2016, a competition in 2018, a competition in 2020. I'd very much like to see an increase to the competitions being annual, but that hasn't been decided yet. So at the very least, I would expect there to be one in 2022.
Thanks, Emily. Zoe, back to you. Could you be precise at which date the company needs to be operating for 1 year at? And do you need to be a trading organisation?
So what we mean by operating for 1 year, so first of all, it's operating for 1 year by the competition close date, which is the 14th of October 2020. So your company does not it does not have to have been registered on Companies House for a period of a year or more. However, you'll need to provide financial accounts, including a business bank account in the name of your business with transactions for a period greater than a year. So if your company and business accounts have been dormant in the last year, then your company was not actively trading for the last year, so would not be eligible. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
And I'm going to throw it back to you as well, Zoe. Can I apply if I'm registered as a sole trader?
Yes.
Perfect. One for you, Abby. Is there a way to download the questions into Word doc or Google Docs to enable working offline whilst answering?
I believe you can print off your application, the application questions. I'd have to double check on that actually, but I believe you can, yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. We'll double check on that and circulate the answer to that. And then back to you, Zoe. Where will the interviews or boot camps take place?
Great question. In the world of COVID-19, who knows? No, the interviews will definitely be virtual via Zoom on the week commencing 7th of December. We'll get the dates out as soon as you are notified that you've been invited to an interview. The boot camps won't happen until the first one will happen in April 2021. So that we would let the successful applicants know. The KTN who help us to deliver the boot camps are very well versed at running virtual events, so it's not going to be a problem if we run it virtually. And yeah, if people don't want to come in person, I'm sure we can cater for that. But the answer is that we would let you know sooner to the time based on what the government guidelines and advice are.
Okay, and last couple of questions. Can you apply for more than one application? Can you make more than one application?
So if it's you making multiple applications, no. But if there is more than one woman in the business that meets the eligibility criteria, the answer is yes.
Perfect. And can you apply for more than one innovation award? They've previously applied for the Young Innovators Award.
That's a good question. Yes, I would say.
I would say.
But yeah, yes.
Because it's substantially different to what this is with the Young Innovators. So yes.
Okay, that's brilliant. And we're going to wrap up the questions there. If your question hasn't yet been answered, don't worry, there'll be another Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And for all those that have registered for today's event, you'll be shortly receiving, if you've not already received, an invitation for Meet Mojo. So if you'd like to book a one-to-one session after the event with myself, Emily or Zoe, be quick. Register for one of the one-to-one sessions. There's limited places available, and we're also going to be circulating a Google form to capture more of your questions, and we will post the answers to this on the Women in Innovation programme page next week. So a key aim of the Women in Innovation programme has always been to create role models to inspire others. So it's with great pleasure that we announce that the Women in Innovation programme has partnered with Founders for Schools to help inspire future generations. To tell you more about this opportunity, please can I introduce our next guest, Evie Hone, Fundraising Manager at Founders for Schools. So welcome, Evie. Thank you.
Hi.
Today. So I'm going to ask if you could start by telling us more about Founders for Schools and what was the inspiration behind the organisation.
Of course. So Founders for Schools, or FRS as is occasionally called as well, it's an award-winning educational tech charity that is working towards a vision where children and young people are given the best start in life, no matter their background. We were founded by serial entrepreneur Sherry Katu CBE in 2015. And Sherry recognised this pressing need to prepare young people for the world of work, and she saw an opportunity to use the latest technology to level the playing field and improve social mobility. Our mission, our charitable mission, is to reduce the skills gap by facilitating and assisting the provision of inspirational careers education to young people under the age of 25. And this is achieved through the creation of a simple, free-to-use digital platform that enables teachers and educators in England and Scotland to connect with business professionals in their local communities to arrange a variety of career events for their students. We feel that this is a key part of equipping students with skills and careers insights that is needed to succeed in this rapidly changing world of work.
Thanks, Evie. So we hear all about the importance of role models to help inspire young people, but can you tell us from your experience what the real life impact of organisations like Founders for School is having?
Of course. So the first thing I'm going to say is a little bit of a stat. So in 2014, the Education and Employers Task Force found that students who experience 4 or more encounters with employers are 86% less likely to be NEET. And NEET, for those who aren't in the know, is not in education, employment or training. And on average, will earn 18% more by the age of 30 than peers who have not had the same opportunities. Despite this analysis, we do know that from the Careers and Enterprise Company, that at best only 37% of young people are having even one meaningful encounter with an employer in each of their 7 years of secondary education. And there is a lot of research that shows that work experiences can be a catalyst for change for young people who may have limited networks or come from workless households. And these challenges within the current system are really keeping aspirations fixed. Aspires, which researches young people's science and career aspirations, has reported that drivers for aspiration strongly correlate with knowing someone who works in a related job. The research also suggests that access to positive role models from a similar background at school holds strong potential for breaking long-held societal attitudes around the types of careers appropriate for people from unrepresented backgrounds. So at FRS, we run several projects which help address this, including one which I feel will be very relevant to many of the people on this call today, called Maths for Girls. So this is a project where we encourage role models to speak to young women about careers that involve maths and the importance of taking this subject beyond GCSE. And we also know at the moment that it's with the effect that the COVID-19 crisis is having on the job market, on young people in particular, that this is more important than ever. And we are doing pretty well at Founders for Schools. In our last 5 years, we've reached nearly 400,000 students. So that's a little sort of, and it really does provide inspiration to this next generation.
Brilliant. So I know a lot of people on the webinar today will be wanting to know more about what's involved for founders. Can you tell us more?
Of course. So as I briefly mentioned just now, we achieve our charitable mission through a simple, free-to-use digital platform which acts as a two-sided marketplace to enable the connections between student and the employer. So these student-employer encounters, as we refer to them, and by which we mean role model events, careers talks, speed mentoring, interview practice, can be arranged by educators through the Founders for Schools platform as easily as buying a book off Amazon. So I thought, sort of, rather than just completely hearing from them, I'm just going to quickly read a quote about what an educator says about this. So many of our young people have families that give them a whole variety of information about careers, and some of our young people just don't have that support. So the fact we can open their eyes to a whole variety of jobs they haven't considered before can only be a positive thing for their future. The important thing to note is Founders for Schools is a charity, and we rely on the support of our fantastic partners, including the one that we have established this year with Women in Innovation, to run our charitable mission and to provide us with fantastic volunteers. So with that, we hope that with our partnership with Founders for Schools, we are hoping to offer the Women in Innovation community an easy and flexible opportunity to engage with schools and act as role models for that next generation of innovators. So we hope that many of you will sign up as volunteers, and I'm going to very quickly talk through the sign-up process, and I'm hoping that you should receive some notes afterwards with a bit more detail as well. So it's very simple. Simply go to our platform, www.foundersforschools.org.uk/partners/Innovate UK, and you click a nice bright orange volunteer button on the Innovate UK partner page, and you'll be basically guided through the process. I've done it myself, it's very simple. And you can choose to sign up either via LinkedIn, which does have the advantage of updating your job title and place of work as you move around, or you can sign up via email. Note, during this process, we will ask for postcodes, so one of your place of work and one of your hometown. But there is a slight silver lining with the current crisis, is that we've realised we're no longer restricted to doing in-person events. And we are also looking at doing virtual events a lot at the moment, doing this blended learning moving forward. So you can be based in London, you could be speaking to students in the middle of the Highlands. So when you're registered, look out for invitations from Founders for Schools and simply confirm your availability. As volunteers who have come through the Women in Innovation platform, you will be sent a bespoke briefing that will offer some notes about engaging young people in innovation, as well as our normal guidance. And we hope that once the schools have settled back in, we should start seeing careers education moving up the priority list. So we hope lots of you will sign up soon and look out for events in the autumn. But yes, and that's pretty much it actually. It'd be great to have lots of different people and lots of inspiring women in particular to come and talk to the wonderful students here and to act as role models, which is clearly very important to this process.
It is.
Thanks, Siobhan. That's a sort of good encapsulation.
So, it was fantastic to hear more about Founders for Schools and the Women in Innovation programme. Is delighted to be partnering with you. So we'll be circulating more details to everyone who's registered for the event today about the Founders for Schools opportunity, and sharing the details on our Women in Innovation programme page. They're already up there if you want to go and look at them, and we'll also be circulating them via our newsletter. We do hope that those who are able will sign up to help inspire future generations. So I'm going to move swiftly from one opportunity, and I'd like to also tell you about the opportunities available by connecting with KTN and the wider Women in Innovation programme. So KTN connects ideas, people and communities to drive innovation that changes lives. We work to connect diverse innovators with new partners, new opportunities and new markets, working with over 40,000 businesses, founders, investors and research organisations, and across 17 different sectors. Our powerful connections and deep expertise are helping shape the innovation communities of the future and drive a positive change, be that societal, economic or environmental, throughout the UK and beyond. And we are determined to create better and stronger innovation communities, create markets for the future and accelerate the time it takes for your ideas to become real life solutions. So, we've been working with Innovate UK to help establish and grow the Women in Innovation programme since 2016. And earlier this year, we brought together a group of people to celebrate International Women's Day, as well as sharing the success of the programme. We showcased not only the amazing award holders, but other women making a difference in the UK. For the event, we created a booklet to celebrate women in innovation, showcasing the journeys of the 30 female entrepreneurs and their experiences with the programme. And this has since been made publicly available in the hopes that it will inspire future women to start their journey. The Building Success webinar series is designed to provide a convenient way for women innovators to access knowledge and expertise on a number of key business areas. It provides inspiration, practical advice and tools. And over 3,000 women have attended a webinar or a physical event since it was established in 2018. And I have been working with colleagues across our sector teams to bring women in events to their communities, working with the community to explore barriers and find solutions to create a more gender balanced landscape. The events aim to open up the discussion and get to the heart of what is important to those innovators. We've also designed coffee networking events, providing a safe environment in which to allow women to discuss business challenges, share advice and make connections. And this year we have provided free coaching sessions to 18 women. And whilst all these activities specifically target women, we have also had plenty of male allies join us along the way. And I'm delighted to announce that this month we are also launching our next series, Let's Talk About, showcasing some of the most established female role models as guest hosts and esteemed panelists. The series will take an in-depth look at topic areas ranging from starting out to finding investors and everything in between, and answering your questions along the way. So we invite you all to join us. So, to sum up, KTN is passionate about enabling the brilliant women that we work with to fully achieve their visions and change the world. If you want to know how KTN can help you and join you on your journey, visit our website, sign up for our updates or connect with us personally. Thank you.
And when I sat down with the application form, I immediately was like, oh yeah, this is the right fund for me, because even the application form was different from a lot of application forms that you fill out. So it was really focused on leadership and on vision. And as part of the process, I really allowed myself, in a way that I hadn't done up to this point, to say, okay, well, this award is about me. It's actually not about, the company sits behind that, but this is about me in a way that other things aren't normally. And it also comes with support, and it comes with a network, and that network is going to really help you as well. So, it's, for me, then it's a no-brainer, because you put yourself out there, and what's the worst that can happen?
So being in a group like Women in Innovation cohort is such a refreshing experience, and often it feels like it's such a lonely journey. Innovate UK is providing us day-to-day support. I also personally found the peer-to-peer support one of the most useful aspects of the Innovate UK Women in Innovation program, because we are all in the same boat. And it's really interesting to see that what everyone's struggles are and how we can help each other just purely by providing advice. So I think peer support is often underrated, and it's really important.
But the award, I think, gave us the confidence in the sense that we think that we can do it. We think we're clearly good enough. We have the technology, we have the backing.
But now I want to share that story and say to other women, you know what? It's hard, but you can do it, and you can keep fighting. Write those applications, talk to the people who matter.
Innovate UK has been really great, providing a platform to learn from and to meet other inspiring entrepreneurs. And the reason why I got to know about the program, Women Innovation particularly, is because the previous cohorts, some of them are my friends, who are also female hustlers in different industries, and they've had so much great feedback about how how much the program has helped them to achieve what they want to achieve. Right now, if I do meet other female founders, I would say you definitely should apply because of the amount of learning you'll get and also the support network you get, because it's sometimes quite lonely and challenging if you're on your own and you don't have a sounding board. It's about shaping role models. You don't always have to be already super successful Fortune 500 company to apply, because the idea is that it's creating you, giving you all the tools you need to grow into potentially that person, right, to inspire others.
I come from a very academic background. I'm used to writing research grants. If you're writing an application for Innovate UK, a standard research grant application is not going to fly, it's not going to work. I remember the first time we did this, sending something into KTN and getting some feedback on that and getting amazing feedback that absolutely was crystal clear in terms of what we should be doing, what we should be aiming for, and what Innovate UK is really looking for in these applications. And I've got no doubt that that led to the first success in terms of our Innovate UK funding. The Women in Innovation Award has been fantastic, I think, from a personal point of view, because it's really supported me in my kind of personal development from academic and physician through to somebody who's scaling, running a business, trying to achieve global impact. So I think for anyone who's thinking about applying for Women in Innovation, I would first of all wholeheartedly advise them to apply. If you're not sure, though, seek advice, seek help, because there's lots of people out there who will be very happy to talk you through the application, what it's about, what you're going to get out of it, how to increase your chances of success. And also I think what they've done really well is that there's a programme of activities and a network that develops out of the back of that. So it taps into a whole wider area of support and knowledge through KTN, of things like webinars and other sort of educational opportunities that fall out the back of that. So you'll still have access to lots of ongoing opportunities and things. So I'd say go for it, but don't be scared to ask for help and support and advice. Lots of people there who will encourage you along the way.
Hi, welcome back everybody. We've now got a brilliant opportunity to get a bit closer to some of our previous award winners. So we've invited two of our Women in Innovation award winners from previous rounds to come and tell you a bit more about their side of things, their perspectives on the programme, and how it's influenced and shaped their businesses and themselves actually as a result of taking part in the programme. So we've got with us here today on this panel Dolores Sanders, who's Chief Innovation Officer from Total Control Pro Limited, and also Shaka Jafari, who's CTO and founder of True In Vivo Limited. So let's just start by asking each of you just to give a very brief intro to yourselves and your businesses. Dolores, can you just give us a few minutes intro to kick us off?
So the business Total Control Pro, we've founded the company actually back in 2013, developing manufacturing technology. So we work in the manufacturing sector. We've developed a cloud-based platform, and as a sort of innovation officer, I'm always looking at what I can create moving forward, how we can serve British manufacturing and in fact global manufacturing. And we are now fully funded, fully active, fully commercial, and actually quite enjoying the process.
Thank you. And Shaka, can you say a few words just to introduce yourselves and your business?
Sure. Hello, everyone, and I'm delighted to be here. I founded my company True In Vivo after my PhD research project, when it was well received among other clinicians and research groups. By the support of university, I tried to do the commercialization process, founded the company in 2014, and trying to commercialize radiation detectors that can sit inside a patient during radiation therapy and tell us exactly what is happening during their treatment in terms of accuracy of radiation dose delivered to them. This is one of the biggest challenge at the moment we are facing in radiotherapy departments.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's just kick off.
So it's been quite a...
Sorry, Shaka, I thought you'd finished. Keep going.
Yeah, so just wanted to say lots of ups and downs, and it's being a great support being a Women in Innovation Award winner, because that helped me really to kickstart the process of commercialization.
Fabulous. Thank you both. So let's just start off then by trying to kind of take you back to when you were thinking about putting in an application for the Women in Innovation Awards, and sort of how did you find out about the awards, and what was it that made you go for it, I guess, in the first place? And Dolores, we heard Zoe saying earlier that one of our previous Women in Innovation Award winners had encouraged a future award winner to apply. I think that was you, wasn't it?
It was indeed. In fact, I think it's kind of a statement to what Innovate UK can do. We actually applied for a pod at a digital manufacturing event, and I say a pod, it was literally a sort of 50 square centimetre kind of plinth, to demonstrate our product back in 2016. And it's while I was there, I was invited to the Women in Tech lunch, and Pauline Dawes, one of the previous then the Women in Innovation Award winners, was speaking, and then came over to see me at the stand. So it was very much a case of hearing her passing on what she'd achieved, sharing with us, that had me go, well, at the time I don't think you knew if there was going to be another award at all, let alone kind of sort of biannually running. So I just knew that I wanted to apply. I knew it was the kind of, actually she inspired me because she inspired me, and that's what I was really excited about being able to do, take some thoughts, be that vision to other women, other young girls, about what's possible. So that's why I wanted to apply. And she told me all about it, told me to keep an eye out. And I think I probably sent about 30 emails going, when is the next one coming? Waiting for it to come up.
And you did, and you were successful. So congratulations. Shakar, we've heard about, a really important part of the awards is the role model element. It'd be nice to hear, from your perspective, what does that mean to you? Why is it important to be a role model, and how do you see yourself as a role model, in your own words?
Yeah, well, I became a role model unwantedly when I managed to cancel 2 arranged marriages by my family, and going to high school and university as a first girl in whole family. And that just continued, and I saw myself how other girls are watching me. If I can do something, then they push their own boundaries and try to do that. And being entrepreneur is again very similar to breaking the barriers which is in front of every woman who wants to do business in this male-dominated environment, really. So that's why I see it so important, although it is not started with, I really wanted to be a role model, but I became a role model, and I can see the importance of it now when I see the results of each and every barrier that I managed to break, and how much it changed the life of others.
That's lovely. Yeah, brilliant. And Dolores, I know that you've done quite a lot with schools, haven't you? And that's kind of been very important to you in your kind of role as a role model. Can you say a few words about that?
Yeah, I mean, the Founders for School connection, I mean, obviously it's just been sort of announced the deeper connection with Innovate UK, but that has been present throughout the time of our awards. But before that, I was speaking in my local schools as well. So the important thing is really, again, it's just giving sort of a chance for not just women or young girls, but everyone to find out what kind of opportunities there are in technology. For me, in manufacturing as well, I think it's a very underrepresented potential job opportunity. It's a long way from the heavy duty manual kind of environment that may be sort of portrayed. So going into the schools, being able to share our story, do some competitions. We've got a local group called Technology for Women in Northamptonshire, and we've done lots of events as well, especially around International Women's Day, just sharing the technology, inviting mums and daughters to come down and be involved. One of the highlights is, along with Digital Northampton, we had a competition for a group at Northampton College in VR. The winner was getting a headset, a VR headset. And there was probably about 40 boys in the class and one girl, and guess who won the award? So yeah, I quite like that.
And you managed to find time to do all this sort of on top of all the demands from the business. You're able to fit in.
I think it's, inside of our business, we are investors in apprenticeships as well. So being able to inspire all young people to be engaged, and we've actually got 5 apprenticeships working with us already at the moment, 4 of which started during lockdown. So we've never met them in person. We've been trying to train them and work with them, working over Zoom and Teams and all that sort of thing. So it is important for me that we are engaged with young people all the time. That is part of my job. So being out in the schools is just the opportunity to find not just more potentially our new next recruits, but also for our customers' next recruits as well.
Great. Okay, so let's kind of think a bit more about the award itself. And so when you were successful and kind of you've been through the kind of years support that came with the award, the financial and the non-financial elements, what is it, do you think, that kind of had the biggest impact or was of most help to you and your businesses? So Shaka, do you want to start by giving your kind of response on that?
Yes, sure. So for me, both aspects, having the funding enabled me to produce the first working prototype of something which was just an idea. And we managed to hire a full-time engineer to work on the idea. And at the end of the year, I had a working prototype, which in turn helped to secure the first round of investment. In terms of recognition was another aspect that really helped, again, with investment opportunities that it opened in front of us, this recognition, as well as I could see the encouragement in the industry after seeing us among the winners.
It was a good platform, really, and to launch your
idea. May I add? Sorry, just may I add also the all technical support and the coaching that we received, which was really helpful. And now we are still with contact of our Innovate UK coaches who helped us during the process.
That's great to hear. That's what we wanted to see. Yeah, absolutely. And so, Dolores, what about you? What were the best bits, biggest impact on you from the award?
The award itself, the recognition obviously is pretty key. And for me, as somebody who'd come back into a sort of technical environment and technical work only a couple of years before, it gave me the confidence that my ideas were still valid. That I still had something to offer and something to bring. We obviously went to the to number 10 and met our previous Prime Minister at the time, and that was a pretty great highlight. But much like Shaka, we were able to leverage the award, the position it put us in. Could bring some data scientists in to work. My project was around best practice in manufacturing and developing, the ground or the foundation for some AI, for an AI platform. So it was really important to bring some expertise into that and to get some understanding. And it took me away from our day-to-day business. So the funding enabled me to do that and enabled us to put that into place, and indeed to attract our investor funding alongside as well. So that was really key. But the real payback you never know at the time until afterwards. And actually, the last 6 months where we've been in lockdown and a number of our clients have been struggling in UK manufacturing, we've been more aware of the benefits of the work that I was able to do as a result of the award. And that's in, we were standing for best practice in manufacturing. We were able to share some of that digital understanding, digital practice, clients being aware, better aware to work remotely. We were actually able to share that with our clients, and as a result, only 80% of our clients stayed in full production whilst on a reduced number of employees. and we were able to help a number of them pivot as well to serve other markets and more essential manufacturing lines. And so it was really that, you know, if we hadn't put that foundation in, which we were trying to sort of think of, well, how are we going to commercialize this, and the commercial plan was kind of 18 months down the line, it came up very, very much quicker. So that was a massive benefit as well. So I think it's always worth applying, you know, even if you think, I don't know how this project's going to go, I don't know where this is going to go, it's the opportunity to put something in place now that really could start to serve better. And that for me is what innovation is all about. So that you've got something you can then rely on to when the market reaches you, you know, you always feel you're that bit ahead. And so that made a massive difference.
And I think that's right, because I think these awards are not about kind of business as normal and just kind of taking it to the next stage of things that you would be doing anyway. It's actually thinking about, okay, thinking ahead, what do we need to do? What can we kind of do that we wouldn't be able to do if we don't get this award, to take us in a new direction or do something differently? So that's really great to hear that. And Shaka, obviously COVID, lockdown, you know, it's had a massive impact on the businesses, certainly the businesses that Innovate UK works with. What's it been like for you over the last few months, and you know, how's the business doing, and you know, what are your plans, I guess, going forward?
Yes, it did have a lot of technical and financial impact on our business, because we were working with the hospitals, and when lockdown started and hospitals got busy with treating COVID patients, all the technical work that was planned to do in the hospitals were suspended, and we are just gradually reinitiating those aspects of the projects we are running now. Financially also, it had huge impact, because a lot of investors that had promised the investment just hold on to see what happens post-COVID world.
Yes, I think the investor situation, is that's an experience shared, I think, with lots of the businesses that we're working with, and an area that we'd like to really kind of step in and help, actually, to kind of encourage investment back as quickly as possible into the businesses that we're working with. What about messages for people who are listening to this session? It's quite detailed, all that briefing. I don't know if that could be quite overwhelming for some people, particularly people that haven't applied to us before. You know, what was your experience of the process, the application process, and actually maybe talk a bit about the interview stage as well, if you'd like, if there was anything from that you think's kind of helpful to pass on. But yeah, what advice would you give to people thinking, oh, I might go for that, to kind of... Well,
if anyone's thinking they're not going to go for it now, having listened to all the information, I'd say definitely do. You know, I laughed earlier saying, I did the application, and then looking at all of that, I was like, gosh, did I do all of that? There's lots of help as well. You know, although it is the Woman in Innovation and it is just your name on the award, you know, get help, reach out, ask for support. If you've got the great idea and you've got something that's in development and it's there, you know, help and talk it through of how to have that translate into the award kind of structure, because I do understand there's lots of things that have to be ticked, there's lots of due diligence that has to be done. So, you know, I really encourage you to take up some of those one-to-one supports to do that. For me, the interview was in person, and I was so nervous. Because I think we had 10 minutes or something to get across 10 slides, and it was I practiced and practiced and practiced. You know, I knew what I was doing, and I'm someone who likes to talk off the cuff quite easily, but I was very practiced for that, so that I knew that I could get each of the points and what we're about there. And actually, some of the questions that were asked during that interview stage, because they have experts there, some of the questions helped me to form the development of the project. I took on board the questions and the feedback, and I believe to have in the end a better project. So, you know, again, although the interview is there and you're thinking it's all about you, really listen to the feedback and the questions you get, because everyone who plays a part is very useful and very effective.
And Shaka, what about you? Your experience with the process and words of wisdom for people online?
Yes. I would add the confidence to what is being said already, because I personally was not confident enough at the beginning when I received Innovate UK email about the competition. So I read the eligibility criteria and the process, and I felt like I'm not quite there to apply. And later on, I received encouragement from my supervisors and business mentor that Shaka, this competition is something that you should go for it. And then I started thinking about putting the application in, and I did receive a lot of support. I asked my CEO to join me for the interview, which was very, very reassuring in a way, although none of the questions were referred to him, but just having him sitting in the room during the interview is a lot of reassurance, and that helped. And during the writing of the application, also I got help from my CEO and financial officer. So I do advise, if you're writing the application, get help, get it checked by someone who is happy to do so, especially if you're at the university setting. They have research and enterprise office, and people there are really helpful to check the applications like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the KTN is there to provide support as well on that. So please kind of get in touch with colleagues at the KTN to discuss applications for the awards. So what's next then for you two and your businesses? What are your plans in the next kind of, I don't know, year, 5 years? Where are you going with this? What's next for you?
Well, one of the things that we have been able to do, because of slightly less commercial applications, is we've managed to bring forward our R&D process. So we are launching our new platform actually today, now, 1st of September was the launch date. So that's been really great.
Share details of that and we can all promote it.
Yes, I will. I'm going like this because I haven't had notice. It's actually like go's been pushed. So I'm kind of like, tech team, where are you? But no, and my next role is to really start to now apply the AI into that platform and start to put the commercialization to what we've done into that. Delayed slightly, obviously, because some of our beta clients have had slightly more pressing things to deal with than feedback for us. But that's all going ahead. And I think, for me, it hasn't been a great time for everyone, but the appetite for our area, digital transformation, is very high now. So it's just really staying present and staying alert to how we can best serve our customers.
Fantastic. And Shaka, I know it's a difficult time for you at the moment, but what are your plans looking forward with an optimistic view on everything?
Yes, sure. Well, I am always being optimistic.
I know.
And I can't wait until the commercialization process of this project is finished and we can move on to the next project. So I became very confident in transforming an idea to a real product after going through the whole process of roller coaster rather than process. And it taught me a lot, and now this confidence led me to take other ideas in medical physics world and tackle on an ongoing problem in our society. My next project is working on vitamin D deficiency solution, because now we all work most of the time indoor, and about 70% of UK population are vitamin D deficient. But we can, with the help of science, bring in the natural sunlight that help people. Brilliant. So that's the next stage. I became a science translator.
Great. Okay, fantastic. Now, I think there was a question from, and I didn't ask the audience for questions because I knew that we were quite tight on time. There was a question, but I think I've already covered it in what I've asked you. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I just really want to say a huge thank you to both of you for sparing the time to do this. I know that you're incredibly busy and you've got lots of different calls on your time. So to give back in this way and to share your story so honestly is like just, you know, hugely beneficial to people on the line. And thank you so much. And we'll be keeping in touch with you, and hopefully you'll be able to meet the new award winners from this round when we've selected them, and we kind of keep you all together as a group that continues to kind of support each other and engage ongoing.
Good luck to everyone from me.
Thank you. And I think were you just saying thank you, Shaka? Okay. I think now we are, what are we doing now? We are going...
sorry, Emily, I'm going to jump in.
Yes, Q&A.
Emily and to the panel, and we are going to move into the final Q&A session. We've got a few questions to ask, and if you've got any last minute questions, please do submit them. But remember, we'll also be circulating a Google form to capture some more. So, first one, what scores are generally needed to progress on to the next round with the application?
So I'm presuming that means scores on the application questions to get to interview stage. This, like all Innovate UK competitions, is competitive. There isn't a specific threshold that we would say across all competitions that would get you to the next step. So I couldn't give an exact figure, but I can say it is competitive. And I don't know if Emily wants to add anything there.
No, not really. I think it's you can't really give an absolute, because it will depend on the quality of the applications we receive, and then, you know, going down a rank ordered list to the number that we can go down to. So, you know, it would be difficult to give an exact number.
And a kind of follow-on question from that, how many applications do you get for each competition roughly?
Again, this varies year on year. For the last competition, we had around 260, but we've seen really high numbers of applications this year for all Innovate UK competitions because of the current situation. So, yeah.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions about, can a startup visa holder apply?
I think we need to look at that I think if you have a UK registered business, then you're eligible to apply. But if you have a specific query, then get in touch with the Innovate UK customer support service team.
Does the project have to be completely new, or can it be an extension of an existing one?
So it can't duplicate a project that you've received funding for via Innovate UK. You know, you can't be doing exactly the same thing. However, this is a different type of award. It's designed to support the individual as well as the business and the innovative project, but we can't fund an innovative project that is being funded for exactly the same thing via a different competition. And Emily, if you wanted to add or clarify anything there, feel free.
I think it's just recognising the unique nature of this award that's allowing you to do something, you know, a bit different. So that point I made when I was talking to Dolores about, you know, this isn't kind of like just standard business as normal. If it looks like that, then it's probably not going to do that well in the assessment process, I would have thought. So think beyond that would be my advice.
And just a final thing as well, that it's public funding via the government. So in one of the application questions, we ask why this is value for money as well, what you're proposing. And if it's the same as what you're being funded for via another project, then it's not value for money.
Perfect. So I've got one or two more questions. Are you able to use the grant for proof of concept?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's de minimis. The grant is de minimis aid, so it's very, very flexible in terms of how it can be used. So provided it fits kind of the broadest eligibility criteria for sound use of the funding, then yeah, absolutely, proof of concept, definitely.
Thanks. Is the competition 100% or is it match funded?
It's 100% funding because it's provided under the de minimis framework.
So somebody's commented, it feels very overwhelming. Is there other support available for completing this? So I think this was mentioned earlier on in the panel session as well, but I'm going to take that one and say if you are struggling with the application or you need advice, please do get in touch with me. I'd be able to help, as well as other colleagues at KTN. There's also colleagues at Enterprise Europe Network who may be able to help. And obviously other business support organisations can usually help as well.
I would just add that I think watching it now probably does come across as quite overwhelming. There's information overload. However, this is really a useful resource to come back to, and when you're working through the process, you can almost do it step by step, especially through that IFS kind of registration process. So hopefully it will help in the future to rewatch this as well.
That's right, because we've gone into a lot of detail, but that's why, and also the slides have got a lot of information on them as well, haven't they? I mean, that you can just go back to and refer back to, which we hope will be useful.
So the last question that I've got here before I'm going to wrap up with one final one is, will there be another opportunity to book one-to-one meetings? So I'm going to also answer this one. We won't be having another opportunity in the same manner to book one-to-one meetings. However, my email address is on the slides that will be circulated. If you'd like to book a one-to-one meeting with me, please do get in touch and let me know. Emily and Zoe may be able to hold meetings if they have availability, but usually that will come through me during this application process. But also, wider than that, as I said before, we'll be collating all the questions and we'll be circulating the answers to them on the Women in Innovation programme page. So do keep an eye out for them, as they might answer some of the questions that you have, and they might be available a lot faster to answer the questions. And then, just for the benefit of everybody else, can I ask you once again, Zoe, if you can reiterate the eligibility requirement with regards to the year that they have to be registered for?
Yes, so the business has to have been operating for 1 year, and that has to be to the competition close date, which is the 14th of October. So to prove that the business has existed for a year, the company does not need to have been registered on Companies House for a period of a year or more. However, you will need to provide us with financial accounts, including a business bank account in the name of your business with transactions for a period greater than a year. If your company and business accounts have been dormant in the last year, then your company was not actively trading for the last year and so would not be eligible for this competition.
Thank you, Zoe. If you've got any more questions, please do add them onto the Google form that will be circulated in the chat box, and that will also be circulated alongside the briefing recording as well. That will go out to everybody that's registered. If you haven't registered and you are tuning in on YouTube, please do visit the Women in Innovation programme page. And that is all the time that we've got available for questions. So all that brings us to say is thank you. I'm going to hand over to Emily to wrap up the webinar.
Yeah, so bring it to a close, and yeah, it has been a lot of information to take in, but I hope that you found it hugely useful and informative, and I hope that there's a large proportion of you online who are going to go for it and make an application for the awards, and we look forward to seeing those awards when they come in. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that's spoken today and the great job that they've done. Also to our panel, so Shakar and Dolores, thank you again for your support Evie from Founders for Schools. I really hope that many of you again online will take advantage of the Founders for Schools platform, and we'll certainly be tracking that. So we'll be seeing how many of you are engaging in that way, and we'll be sort of promoting that as far as we can going forward. And I think we're going to be organising a special event on inspiring future generations where we'll go into that in a bit more detail. If you'd be interested in that, look out for that in the future. And thank you to all of you online for joining and for sparing time to listen to all of this. Please remember that you can keep up to date with everything that's going on with the Women in Innovation programme through the KTN newsletters, and there's lots of events that Siobhan is leading on organising that I'm sure you would find hugely useful to get involved with. So if you're not already getting our newsletter or involved in our online community, please do join. And lastly, I need to say a huge thank you to the KTN organisation team. So Siobhan, Poonam and Karen for all their support in pulling this together. Great job, team. Thank you very much. And others who've been kind of like behind the scenes managing the technology for today, which from what I've seen, it looks like it's all worked really well. So thank you, everybody. And as I say, we look forward to receiving the applications when they come in, and good luck everybody if you do put in an application.